Hi, my name is Paul Seal from codeshare.co.uk. Welcome to episode 5 of this second series of how to build a content managed website in Umbraco, and I'm using version 7.6.5. So we're on episode 5, and in this episode I want to move on to creating a contact form using Ajax to submit that form, so it doesn't need to do a postback. So I'll be doing some MVC here. So to start with, we'll create the contact view model, which is going to store the name, the email and the message. We're going to add some things like required attributes or email attribute for validation. We're going to create the partial view for the contact form. So that's going to actually, that's what's going to render the contact form. We're going to create a controller with the relevant methods. So that will be the render the form and the submit the form. And on that I'll put the send an email method as well. And then we're going to call the render contact form from the footer template. So we've got a footer partial view, so within that, instead of the markup that's there for the form, we're going to replace that with this call for the form. And then we're going to add some JavaScript for submitting the form, so that it allows us to do it via Ajax rather than a postback. So let's get on with it then. So just go to the site just to give you a refresh of where we are right now. So this is the site that we're working on, and if you want to follow along, go back to episode 1. Shows you where to download it from and how. So this is the contact form that we're going to be working on today. So let's get cracking with this then. So in the first thing we said we was going to sort out the model. So in the project, let's just close all the folders. I'm going to create a folder called models. By right-clicking on the web project and then do add new folder. I need a folder called controllers whilst I'm here. So now we have those two. So in the models folder, I want to add a new class and call it contact view model .cs, and then add on that. So on this, I need a using statement of system.componentModel.data annotations, so that will allow me to do the required attributes and things like that. So the namespace is right, so I don't need the other namespace, the other using statements. So yes, it's ell.web.models, and then it's class public class contact view model. So I need to add 3 properties. So one is name, so public string name, get set, and I want to add the required attribute to this because I want them to definitely put their name. And I want to do another one, so public string email, get set, and on this one I want it to also be required, but I also want it to be an email address. Now you can also define a custom error message for these as well. So I'll carry on and then we'll do the error messages. So the last one is public string message, and I want to put required for that, otherwise there's no point submitting a contact form. Email, not email address, so just required for that. I could do a max length actually. Max length, maybe 500, and then error message equals. So this is what I was saying about custom error message. Your message must be 500 characters or less. And name, I'm not going to put a limit on the name, or I suppose I could do, but I'm not that bothered. But I do want to put an error message, so error message equals please enter your name. And on the email address, the required error message equals please enter your email address. and another one, error message equals, please enter a valid email address. So this error shows up when it's not a proper email address, so it's not structured correctly. So I've got my model there. Now I want to create myself a partial view which has what is in here. So for this form, I'm going to take this out of here. I'm going to copy it for now. I'm going to create myself a folder in the partials, one called contact. And do add, and then I want to do view. I'm going to call it _contact form. I'm going to leave it empty without a model and create as a partial view. Click on add. So it's saying it's scaffolding it, but it's not actually doing anything. So we want to do @inherits Umbraco view page, and then in the angled brackets I want to do the name of the model. So in order to do that, I'm going to put a using statement. So that will be ell.web.models, and so then in here all I have to put is the model name, so that will be contact view model. Next I want to use the Ajax form, so do @using Ajax.begin form. So in here we're going to have some attributes. So first one is what is the form action, so it's going to be submit form. And what is the controller name? So the controller name is contact. And what's the next bit? So next I need to do some new Ajax options. And so these options I need to say what the update target is. So the update target is going to be form result. And the method, HTTP method, is post. And the insertion mode is replace. That's it. And then finally, oh yeah, I need it on success. So I'm going to create a couple of JavaScript methods for this. So on success equals contact form. Now do it lowercase. Contact form dot success method. So I want that to run if it's successful, and actually show result. And if it's a failure, I also want that to be a show result as well. And then finally I need to do a new, so I need to give it an ID. ID equals contact form. So I just need to look at this. So it's not got anything specific on there. That's fine then. So I want to take the inside of this really, because that's going to create me my form tags and have the relevant actions on it. So next I need to get these to be using the model. So for instance, I've got this one here. So using the markup that they provided, what I can see is that this is the bit that I'm going to replace with. So I'm going to do @html.textbox4. I'm going to do m goes to m dot, and then that will be name. Now this has got a name of name and an ID of name, but it also has a placeholder. So I'll do a new placeholder equals, and then I'm just going to put in name there. So that is going to put this placeholder text in there. So that's that one done. So next I want to do it for the email address. So just break it out here slightly. So it's the same thing. I'm just going to copy that one and then just change it to be email. And then finally I need it for the message. So the message is a text area instead of a text box. So if I do html.textArea4 and then the model property, so m goes to m.message. And this has also got a placeholder. I'll copy that and just do message in there. And it's also got an attribute of rows equals 4. I'm not sure if I need to do, I might be alright to do it as a string. We'll soon see if there's a problem with it. Right, so that's the form, and I want to do something as well. So I'm going to do a div id equals form outer. So I'm going to wrap the form in this. It might affect the style, so we might have to rethink this. And then I want another div and have id equals form result. So this is the reason I'm using these is so that when I submit the form, whatever happens, I'm going to show the form result and I'm going to hide the form outer. So I've got those on there. Next I need to create myself a form controller. So add a new class. So contact, just contact controller will do. It is technically going to be a surface controller, but I don't necessarily define that. Now to use this I need to have using system.web.mvc. I need to do using umbraco.web.mvc, and I also want the models as well. So using ell.web.models. So I need to get my controller to inherit from surface controller. So that allows me to do Umbraco relevant actions and things like that, and I've access to the Umbraco context if I need it. So I'm going to do a public action result, and I'm going to do one called render form. So in this one, what it's going to do is it's going to return the partial view with the form in it. I'm also going to do a little method to help me get the path of the partial view. So if I do, it's called public string get view path, and I'll put a parameter of name, and then I'll do return, and then I'm going to use this syntax to return it. So I'm going to do .cs HTML at the end, views, partials, and then in there I'm going to put the name. So all I'll need to fill in when I return get view path, so I'm going to say return partial view get view path, and I just need to put the name of the partial view in there, which is the name of that is contact form. Now I also need to do new contact view model. So this is going to be empty on the render. If you're doing this for a different type of form, you might want to load the form up. So you might want to do up here contact view model, and then model equals new contact view model like that, and then set some properties, model dot whatever, and then in here you'd pass in the model. So from a last series that I did, we were doing some of the forms and things like that, and people were forgetting, after the return partial view, they were forgetting to do comma and then the model. So that's just a bit of what I've learned from doing the last one, is to remember to do that. So just thought I'd show you that. I'm just going to, I'll leave it like that, it's clear, but I could just put new contact view model in there instead of model. But that's fine for now. And then I want to do public another action result. So this is another render form, but when there's an error and the form comes back, so this is going to be an HTTP post. So I need a method for render form, one for get and one for post, because otherwise I would get an empty form back every time. If I just had one render form without specifying get and post, I would find that every time it renders, even after I've submitted, it will be empty again, and that's the reason why. So in this case, when it comes as a post back, we're looking for the contact view model, and then I can return this here back with the same model that was submitted. And then I usually do this. So if model state dot is valid, so if it's not valid, then do something perhaps. I don't need to do anything in there at the moment, but then you could put some code in that bit. So I'm going to just delete that. But so now that means that if I submit and there's a problem, I get the form that was submitted. I don't just get an empty one every time because of this bit here. So then I need another action on here, which is going to be another HTTP post, and this will be submit the form. So public action result submit form. And this needs to look for contact view model as the one above is. And this one, you see this name here, submit form, that's what is in here. So we're calling this action on the contact controller, so you always miss off the name controller. So that's what this is here. Right, so go back to there. So on this, I'm going to need to have another partial view, which is the result, and that's going to be shown in the output of that result div. So let's create another little view called result, and actually I'm going to do one called success and one called error. So not called result. So I'll do one called success, create as a partial view, add that. So just all this is going to be is just going to be some markup. It's just going to say H2 thank you. And then just a little paragraph to say thanks for your email, we will be in touch soon. So that's the success one. And then what I can do in Visual Studio, so if I click on that success one, hold down Control and then drag it up to contact folder again, it creates a copy. So now I can do one called error, underscore error actually, and then I can say, if I make sure I've got that one open, so in Solution Explorer, double click on error. So now I'll say error, and then say sorry, there was a problem with submitting the form. There was a problem with, no, I can't spell, submitting the form. Please try again. Right, so that is basically I've put most of what I need together there, and I'm going to then, at the end of all this, I'm going to return back the either success or error. So let me just delete that. So what I want to do, I'm going to have a another method here called send email, public bool send email, and that's going to look for the contact view model being passed in as well. And I've not got this written out yet, but I'm just going to return true for now. But basically this will be the code for sending an email. So in here I'm going to call send email. So if the model state is valid, then I want to define a bool above it, success equals false. So I'm going to say success equals send email. So whatever the result is of send email, that's going to be what the success flag is set to. And then afterwards I will do a return partial view, get view path, and I'll just be a little bit clever here. So I will determine which one I show based on whether it was success or not. So if I do success question mark, so for true I'll do success partial view name, and for false I'll do error. So it doesn't need a model because it's not using a model for the error or the success partial view. So it's as simple as that. And then the next thing to do is just write some code for sending an email. So I'm going to need to use system.net.mail. Right, so we know that the form's valid, and that's why we're calling this, so we know we've got all the properties that we need to have. So I'm going to do mail message equals new mail message. I need an SMTP client. I'm going to not set the port or the host name because it's already set in your web config. So what you can do is you can change this if you want to, but for now it's already set to localhost. And I think I might need to do port. Oh no, not there. Might need to do port in here, but I'll just specify it. 25. I think that's right. Let me just, yes, port. So I'm just going to default it to that, and then depending on your environment you can set up your different details for how you send emails. But for now this is going to send it using that, so I don't need to specify it in this, it just uses those that are in the web config. So message dot to dot add new mail address, so the address. Now what we usually do is put it in the config file for who's going to receive these emails. So if I go to app settings here and I do a new add key equals, and then I'll do contact email to, and the value equals, so that will be test@test.co.uk. And I'll do the same for the from, so contact email from. So now if we go back to this, I'll do string to address equals system.web.configuration.web-configuration-manager.app settings. So that's how we get into these app settings here by that reference there. So now all I need to do is just use the array to tell it what name. So I want the to address, so I'll copy the name from that key there, paste that in there. So that's going to set the to address to be that, and then the from address will be the other one. Okay. And after that, so I need, because I don't want to set the from to be from that person's email, because you can have certain issues with sending the email. Oh, it looks like it's from an address, but it's not really from that address. So you're probably best to configure a certain one, because this is only an email that's going to the person who runs a website anyway. It's not like you're emailing the customer from this. So do message dot body equals, and then we can just say, actually we'll do subject first, dot subject equals, I'm going to use this syntax again. I'm going to say inquiry from, and then I'm going to put their name, so that will be model.name. And I'm going to also do their email address in there as well, model.email. And then in the message.body equals, do the same again. Well, actually, I could just put the message. It doesn't matter, does it? Model.message. You can play about how you want to format this, it's fine. Then I want to add the recipient, so new email address, so the to address, and that can be the address and the display address, and same again for the from. I think it's just equals. So that's going to do the to address, the body, the subject. So I'm using the name, the email, the message. That's everything there. So then all I want to do is just do client.send and then give it the message to send. And I'm going to wrap this in a try catch. So I just type try and then tab, and that sets up the try catch for me. I'm going to move this all inside there. So that's going to return true, and the other is going to return false. And at the moment I'm not using any logging, but I can do. So using log for net. So if there are any errors, I might want to see that there are some, because I might not know there are any errors, because if it fails, all it's going to be is the end user is going to know that it's failed, but I won't necessarily know. So I'm going to put something in the logs to tell me that it's failed. So if I've used log for net, so I think it, let me just check, I've got some notes. I never remember about using log for net. So I need to do ilog, log equals log manager dot get logger. Oh, that's it. And then I need to use reflection here. So using system.reflection, so that I can now get the method that it's calling from. So method base dot get current method dot declaring type. All right. So that's setting up the log. So now I can just do log.error, error. I can do contact form error, and then I can pass in the exception. Do system exception EX, and that way I can pass in the exception to it as well. Now it's complaining because I've not closed that off. So now I've got my send email method. I've got it returning true or false, whether it managed to do it. I've got the partial view for success or failure. I've got all of that set up for the controller. And let's have a look what it says on the details. So call the render contact action from the footer partial. So let's do that. So we're going to the footer, and instead of this I just want to do at open and close curly braces, render action, oh, HTML render action, that's it. HTML.render action, and in there I want to do two string names. So one is render form, and that is on the contact controller. So I just need to double check, spell that wrong. So I just need to double check that that's what it's called. Render form is there, and contact controller is the name of the controller. And so I want before controller. Just put that in there. So that's going to render the form, and then the other thing that I need to do as well is add some JavaScript for submitting the form. So let's add a bit of JavaScript. So I'm going to add a JavaScript file called contact form. I always write from instead of form. Click on OK, press OK. So I need to say var contact form, did it again, equals either contact form, so basically itself, or, and then create a new object. So this is going to be going to have some properties on it. So it's going to have initialize. So init is going to be a function, and that's going to call the listeners, this.listeners, which is also going to be a function. So I need to do a comma and then do listeners and say function. So this is where I'm going to use a bit of jQuery. I could do it in JavaScript, but I'm happy to use jQuery on this project. So I'll do in here document and then dot on, and it's going to be a click event. So on click, when a certain class has been clicked, so the class name I'm going to have is contact submit. So when that is submitted, I want you to run this function, and the function is, I'm going to pass in e for event arguments. So I'm going to say e.prevent default. So that means don't do what you would normally do. Then I'm going to do var form equals, and I'm going to say this.closest form. So this.closest, and in there I'm going to say look for the form, and then I want to do form dot submit. So that's my listener, and then I want another one called show result, because if you remember in the form we had this saying that we're going to have a show result method, and I'm just going to do lowercase s there. So I'm going to have a one in there, so this is going to be called show result, and it's going to be a function. Just delete that. So what this is going to do is going to look for the form itself and hide it. So the form has got an ID tag that we can target, so that will be contact form. Oh no, actually I'm going to hide the form outer, that's it, and I'm going to show form result. So let me undo that. Dot hide, and then form result dot show. So that's just going to use jQuery to hide and show the relevant things. So that's the JavaScript that I need to use. So, and the contact form shows on all pages, so I need in my master template to reference this. I've got jQuery referenced above, so that's good. So script source equals, and then I'm going to do scripts, and then it's contact form. and close that. I like to take away the squiggle there, the tilde, sorry, not a squiggle. Sorry if this one's boring, I'm just getting on with it, not really talking about it much, but I've only got a short amount of time to get this all done. So we've got the contact form. I think we've got everything set up now to be able to run this form. Oh, one thing we don't have, and that is the ability to do it in Ajax. So we need to install something. So let's go to CodeShare, and let's just search for the word Ajax. And there's a blog post on here which shows you MVC client-side form validation. This basically shows you need to have these libraries installed for your client-side validation and also to be able to submit a form using Ajax. So to do this, what we want to do is use Package Manager. So when we did the install of Umbraco, we did this. So we want to go to Package Manager console. When it's ready, just install this. So this is going to get some JavaScript files for us. So say yes to that. And then it's also going to, so that's one for validation, one for Ajax. And it also edits the config file for us as well. So that's why it's asking us here, can it make changes to the config file? So we should have a look that it's added. There should be something about Ajax in here somewhere. Anyway, let's go back to the project. Oh, I'm in the project. Let's go back to there. So I need to make sure that I reference those scripts that I've just added. So I can do that by just copying this, because this is going to be the exact same structure, because it installs in the exact same places. And then I'm just going to put that above and just under the jQuery reference. So that one's already got jQuery on there. I don't need that because I've got it in my project already. I just need to reference these others. Oh yeah, so I think it's these that it's added. So client validation enabled. Let's just have a look to see if that is in there now. Oops. So it looks like it wasn't added. Well, we shall see. So if I have any troubles, I might just add these to my config file. So I'm going to close this. So I'm going to close all my documents just to neaten things up. So I think I've got everything now, everything that I need to do. So let's test it. So we'll do a build. Now normally it doesn't just go smoothly where you just write a whole load of code, don't test it, and then you run and it just works. So fingers crossed it will just work. However, I don't think it will. Let's go to the website and load the page. So we're looking for the form to be rendered properly. One thing that I've thought about is that I'm relying on the button click of a button which has got the class of contact submit, but I don't think that I've set that class on the form. So let me just go to the form. No. So I'm just going to say class equals contact submit. So it might have saved my bacon there. Oh, we've got an error. Right, here goes. Here goes all the problems. So the partial view, views, partials, contact form wasn't found. So that's my error. So let's go back to the controller. I know exactly what the problem is. I just didn't add the extra level, which is the folder names, which was contact. So let's give that a build. So as I was saying, it never happens where you don't have an error to start with. Let's try and refresh the page. But if that's the only error, I'd be very happy. But again, I doubt it. And that's why this sort of video is not about, oh, I'm perfect, watch me code, you know, watch the perfection in action. It's not. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Right, but the good news is we've got a form rendered here. So let's just make sure that I didn't leave the markup in place. I didn't. No, let's just double check, because that would be frustrating. footer. No, it's all being rendered from my form, so that's good. So let's try and fill it out. Oh, shouldn't be putting that one on, so I'll just do test@test.co.uk. Just put my work one on then. Right, the other thing I need to do is I just need to start up Papercut, which I've got, which basically just is like a local SMTP server. It's good for development. If you go on my website and search for Papercut, it gives you a link to how you can download it. So I'll do send a message. Right, so straight away it's gone to the top of the page. So why is that? So let's have a look at what the problem is here. Right, so I've clicked on contact submit and that just went straight to the top of the page. One thing I haven't done is I haven't called the initialize method on that contact form. So if I go into the JavaScript for contact form, I refresh this and include it in the project. Oh, it's there. I need to, after this here, I should really do contact form.init. Now I'll do Control F5. I'll just Control F5 on that. And let's try again. No. I'm going to copy that. Right, let's just inspect and just have a look, see if it's set up the form properly. Right, no. So it's got form method post, action is hashtag. It looks like it's not doing it properly. It looks like it's rendering the old thing. So that's the behavior that we would have experienced had it not done it properly. Oh, I've left the form tag around it. Look at that. I've left the old form tag with the action of hashtag. Rookie mistake yet again. Told you, it never goes smoothly, but at least you've seen a problem. You might have done that same problem, especially if you were following along. You should have done that same problem anyway. Save that, give it a build. Right, fingers crossed. Come on, let's have it. Refresh the page with Control and F5 so that it makes sure it loads the script document and everything. Right, Paul, test.test.com. Paste in the message, there you go, copied and pasted. Send message. Anything going to happen? No, it's not happening. Right, so we don't know why it's not happening. So it could be something wrong with my JavaScript. So var form equal, let me have a look at my notes because I've got some notes on this. This.closest form. Oh, maybe I'll just need form.submit. You were probably screaming out, no, you just need form submit. Come on. I've got the class correct, I believe. Let me just have a look at that. Go on to the contact form, class equals. I've not got two classes because sometimes if you have a class twice, that can be a problem. So I don't think I have. So let's refresh the page again. Just going to get rid of that hashtag. Come on, let's have you. So I'm going to click on book now to go down to the form. So Paul, test.test.co.uk, and then I'm going to just type in anything. No, it's not submitting. Why not? So has it done anything with the result? Is it a case that the result has been populated? No. It's got the surface. Is that what I would normally expect? Yeah, so it looks okay. I wonder if it's even being submitted. So let me just check my notes again just to see if I've done everything right. Got my insertion method, I've got everything. Did all right actually for a first go. I've got my ID. As things go, it looks okay. So I need to know what the problem is here. Have I referenced this script at all? I think I did. I think I did it on the master page. Yes, I did. It's not that. What if I take off this? Well, I know what I can do. What if I put an alert? So when that gets clicked, let's have a little message that just says, yes, clicked. Right, so Control F5. Clicked. Right, that's good. That's a good sign. What's next? So that's got clicked. So I wonder if it actually does get to the point where it submits the form. I mean, I could do, what I could do, because I've got an ID on the form, I could get the ID of the form, contact form, and I could just do, in the JavaScript, I could just put this in here, something like this. Change that to be the ID dot submit. What about that? So if it submits, let's see. Control F5. Doesn't seem to be submitting it. I've got e.prevent default. I've got the usual. Let me undo. So what about if I go, cut that out there, say that is form, and if I put this in here, say that's what my form is, and then I want to do the submit on the form. All right, try again. So it seems to be some sort of error that I've done wrong, and I don't know what it is, and there's nothing in the result. So let's just debug. So to debug now, because I've moved to using local IIS running off this domain, what I can do on debug, I can do attach to process, and I can look for the process that's running it, so ELL for I love lashes. I can go into my contact controller. Let's just see if it does get called. So go to the page, refresh the page. I'm just going to delete all breakpoints, and then I'm going to go back to the contact controller. I'm going to let that run. Go back to the contact controller and just do a break there. So let's put in something valid. Click on send message. Does it submit? No. So I think it must be something to do with the JavaScript that I've written. So what about if I take off the JavaScript? What if I just let that form do its thing? So if I just Control KC on that line there. What about that? So then the button becomes a default button. So if I click, then we get a post back. So there was a problem with submitting the form. So let's see if I could do Paul test@test.co.uk or .com, message in there, then send message. Thank you. Right, so the code that I've written for the email and everything works, and I got a message through in Papercut as well. So this is what our message looks like. Inquiry from Paul, test@test.com, and then the message there. So that's good. So the actual code that I've written works. We can see that the only problem that we've got here is the JavaScript. So let's inspect and go to console. Let's delete all of the errors, load the page, and see what errors are showing up on the page. So there's nothing showing up straight away that I'm worried about. If I type something in here, I'm going to copy that email address because it seems to be faff. Right, send message. I've done it again, haven't I? Sys is not defined. Don't know what this is. Why there's an on click? Right, so it could be something to do with some of the other scripts that's on this template that could be interfering with what I'm using. So what I might also do to try and identify this is I'm going to just comment out some other scripts. I'm going to put my script back on. The look and feel of this website might break now, but sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do, especially when debugging. I'm going to Control F5 to make sure I've got all the right scripts. The form doesn't seem to have broken. And I'm going to hit send message. So that didn't work. And what errors did I have? Right. Again, we've got sys is not defined, and I'm sure I've had this before. Now, what is it? What I'm going to do is change to use a different version of jQuery. I'm going to use the one in the example. I'm going to just do this. So again, this might break the website because it's using an old version of JavaScript, jQuery here. But that's fine. Let's give it a go. Give it a hard refresh. Paul. Test@test.com. Copy that. Send message. Is it going to work? No, it's not going to work. Why isn't it going to work? Because it's still got the problem with this on-click event, HTML form element, index 210. What have we got here? Oh, wait a minute. Do you remember? Let's just go back. Do you remember what I said about this config settings? I think I might need to set these up. I knew I'd seen it before. Let's just add these in. I knew it. Well, I'm saying I know it. It's not actually fixed yet, but stay with me. I think I remember this from before. All we've got to do is add these to the app settings. So I just copied and pasted them from my client-side form validation. I found this page by searching for Ajax in my website. Anyway, I'm going to save that, Control-Shift-B to do a build. I'm going to reload the page. Come on, I want to see it working. So we already know that the code runs and it submits the form properly because it sends the email. So that's good. So we know that when this form actually submits properly, it's going to work. Any minute now. So Paul, test@test.com, blah, blah, blah. Send message. Yes. So you saw that, it said, thank you, thanks for your email, we'll be in touch soon. Papercut was open at some point, but it's not now. Let me get Papercut open again. Oh, this is exciting. So we've got another one. Yeah! Sorry, getting a bit too excited here. But you know when things go right after they've been going wrong for so long. So now it works. So we've got a contact form, and we also saw that when there was an error, it even said error. So if I refresh the page and I just try and submit, so I'm pressing submit and it's going, hang on sunshine, you've not put your name in yet. Now it's not showing a message, so I can show you how to do that. test@test.com, blah 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 blah. Send, oh no, what if I do that? Hit send message, again it knows, no, I'm required. I mean, that might be all you need to know. That might be all you need to do on this. And it's going, no, this is a problem. I like that, that's quite subtle. But what you can do, if you wanted to, you can put validation on there. So let's go to the form, contact form, and just under each of these, if I do @html.validation message 4, and then the same thing that you passed in there, so m goes to m.name. Do that for each of these, so that will be m.email, and that one will be m.message. Also, what I'm going to do is put these scripts back on. So right, so that's how it was before. What else am I going to do? So I'm going to do a refresh, so it should all be working nice. So if I just start typing, do something wrong in that, please enter a valid email address. Brilliant. And you can edit the styles to make that show up. But that's using client-side validation. Oh, you see that? Please enter your email address when you do it. Yeah. So we're now working. We're cooking with gas. Yeah. And then I can submit the message. Now watch the page. It shouldn't post back. It didn't post back. And I got the thank you message. All's good. So I think that's it. I think that's a successful one. Again, we've had errors. I don't mind showing you the errors, showing you how to overcome it. You probably have the same errors. At least I kept the errors in and you saw it. One thing that I did notice yesterday on these Umbraco fields, I need to do recursive equals true. Recursive true. These are the footer fields. And the reason for this is because I didn't do that. What am I saying to you? When I did this, I'll show you. Let me go back. Pretend I didn't say anything. Right. Okay, welcome to codeshare.co.uk, episode 5. Yeah, so if we go on a footer, say on /generic, didn't have the details. So that was my point. And really, we just need to get it from the home page. But what you can do to get it from that is you can go up the tree using recursive for these. So that is Umbraco.field. So if I say recursive true and use that as well for the other Umbraco.field, and that is the footer content. Refresh this. They come in. Lovely. Still got a problem with the links though. So what we want to do is get the home page so that instead of using Umbraco assigned content item, we can actually, I wonder if that's got a recursive option. Oh, did that have a recursive? Yes. So I can just do it in there. Recurse true. So refresh that. Brilliant. So that works as well. So I've got another victory in 2 victories in 1 episode. Let's see if the form submits. Now this is brave. Does the form submit? Yes, it does. It submits from there. And I can see that in Papercut as well, that I did another one at this time. Brilliant. So that's it from this episode. I hope you liked it. Thanks for staying with me. Tip for you, if you thought it was going on a bit long, you can change the speed in YouTube. So you can, I started listening to myself on double speed. It was quite funny actually. Got through the episode quicker, and I sounded a bit squeakier. So if you're finding that problem with me, do that on the next episode. If you like the video, please click on like, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, all of that jazz, and comment and ask me any questions. I don't mind. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Okay, bye.